Hey y'all, March 26th, the Bite Size Bible in a Year chronological edition. We are talking about Joshua, I didn't write it down, Joshua 12:6 through 15:19. If you didn't watch yesterday's video, I would encourage you to go back and at least listen to the first part where I talk about the 5 roadblocks to living victoriously, because I'm going to talk about a little bit of an extension of that, or a different facet of that today, and it'll help you to know what I'm talking about if you've listened to that. Okay, so we're still with Joshua, which you know, good, because I like Joshua, as you know. Joshua is here again. We're talking about moving from victory to victory. We talked about that yesterday, and how God wants us also to live that way. He wants us to live in continual victory. When I talk about that, I'm talking about a life where we don't bow down to anything other than God, or we're not overcome by anything other than the Spirit, or joy, or fruits of the Spirit. You know, we're not enslaved. We're not enslaved to anything, whether it be our thought life, to sin, to temptation, anything, more than we are, or at all, that we're only bowing down to God, most of the time. That is the victorious life, and that's where God wants us to live. And so yesterday we talked about the importance of getting rid of those obstacles to that victorious life. Today, I want to talk about, from our reading, I want to talk about having a victory mentality. Okay, and so that's important if we're going to walk in consistent victory, is to have a victory mentality, because obviously Joshua must have had that. And as we go through our reading from yesterday, we can see evidence of that. I'm going to give you 5 components to having a victory mentality. For every one of those 5 components, I'm going to give you something to know and something to resolve, something that you choose to do, okay? Something to know and something to resolve. So the first component of a victory mentality, we've got to know that it's not gonna be easy. It's not easy. Joshua fought. He was in battle day after day after day. Yes, he had times of rest, but his life was lived in battle. And so we need to know also that if we're gonna live in victory, we're gonna have to fight for it. Like, victory is not default. We're not gonna sit back and let life happen and be victorious. It's not default. We have to choose it every day. It's not gonna be easy. So what we need to resolve is to do the hard thing. That's gonna be different for you than it is for me. It kind of depends on what it is that tends to jump up and grab you and kind of threaten to overcome you. Whatever that thing is, do the hard thing to get victory over that, whatever that is for you. The second component to a victory mentality is know that it's going to take time. Victory takes time. You don't wake up completely victorious over things that overcame you, that have been overcoming you for 10 years. It's going to take time. And so what you need to resolve is to have patience with yourself and to not give up. And so that's kind of a 2-parter, A and B. You need to be patient with yourself and not give up. Like I said yesterday, if you give up, well, then you're definitely not going to be victorious. Keep in there. Be patient with yourself. You fall down, don't beat yourself up. Be like, well, yikes, that was bad. Okay, God, I'm sorry for that. Now let's get up and do it differently today. Number 3, it took help. Joshua did not defeat all these kings and all these cities by himself, even though it says Joshua defeated. It was the whole nation, all the fighting men. It took help. So living in victory takes help. And so we need to know that. What we need to resolve is to accept that help when it comes our way. Know that it's going to take help. Resolve to receive that help. Accept it. Like, God created us to need each other and to provide for one another. So be willing to accept the help, or to give the help. You might be the one that gets to give help also. Number 4, the victory was widespread. It covered the whole land. Although there were still places to overcome when Joshua died, it was still widespread. And that's what we need to know, that when we start to live in victory, it's contagious. It's going to seep over into other areas of our life. So what we need to resolve is to let God into that next place. Let God into that next place He wants to give you victory over. And then the 5th one is that we need to have confidence in God. In particular, I'm just talking about Caleb and how he directly asked for the land that had the descendants of Anak. He was like, I want that land, the one that everybody was scared of, but I wasn't. I want that land. because God told him that he was going to conquer it. And so he had confidence in God. I don't know if he had confidence in himself, but if we're trying to like live victoriously in our own power, like it's never going to work because we know ourselves way too well. We know our propensity to fail. And so we're never going to think forever and always and all the way through ourselves that we can be completely victorious. The confidence comes in God. So that's what we need to know. We need to have confidence in God. What we need to resolve is to have our focus on God. Whether we think we're awesome or whether we think we're awful, they're both pride. Both those ways of thinking are pride because they're focused on self. We need to get our focus off of ourselves and onto God, because that's where the confidence comes from, is knowing him and knowing his character and knowing that he's for you. Then you can have confidence in him and that he's going to do what he told you he's going to do. And those are the 5 components of having a victory mentality that I see in our reading today. And when we start to do what I said yesterday, which was wake up and choose God every day, then we stop bowing down to other things because we're choosing to bow down to God alone. And then that's when the victory, we get the obstacles out, we have a victory mentality, we choose him, and then we start to live in victory more and more and for longer and longer. All right, that's it for today. So today's reading, March 27th, is Joshua 15:20 through 17, and I will talk to you about it tomorrow. Farewell.